الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a coming to you a little bit late on a Thursday. It's 27 degrees out here in the great state of New Jersey, and it's sunny, which means though that any precipitation that comes down will be snow. But there is no precipitation in the forecasts, and they oftentimes get these forecasts wrong, though. So we'll see, because it is white out. There's snow left over from last weekend, what do we call it, divisional rounds weekend, in which we saw some careers basically end, right? If you're a Ravens fan, you saw some sort of feel bad for these players, even though it's all lahu, but you can't make a drop like that. Even though there's 90 seconds for Allen to take the field ball back, but still 90 seconds you can stop him, right? 90 seconds you can get the ball back. 90 seconds, field goal or stop, you can still get the ball back, right? So, but nonetheless, your man from the Vikings, you saw that? Darnold, that's basically was sad to watch him go to the end. I watch these things with my son. So that's pretty much wraps up his comeback, right? Unfortunately for him. But nonetheless, it was nice. It was snowing. It's one of those days you order Uber Eats and you stay home, right? And you got the playoffs on. But, you know, Habib Omar always warns, do not be fooled with your time. Even if you're watching those things, you still pick up the misbah, right? Never sit solely on lahu. Even if you're going to sit on lahu, you still pick up the misbah. And remember Allah Ta'ala, that is permitted for us to do, right? Because it's not Quran. Quran you cannot. You must have istima'. Hadith, you cannot listen to hadith while doing something else. But dhikrullah, right? You can do while you're engaged in these lahu, and we're not going to live. We're not going to say or pretend we live in a world in which we never are involved in lahu. And the reason is, no matter how pious you are, you have a family, you have friends, you have a community. So you're going to be at the wavelength of your community, but you got to maybe, possibly, improve everyone a notch by reminding them, even when you're engaged in some lahu. Remember Allah? And one of the brothers he did on Super Bowl weekend, he transformed it. He said, we're doing it at my house because he has a big theater TV type. And he said, but I want you to come and we're going to have a halakha in the middle. So we prayed. I think it's like Aisha by that time. Prayed Aisha. We recited Imam al-Haddad's Wird al-Ratib al-Shahir. Gave a small halakha because it's 1 hour. Then we all ate. So that's what Muslims tended to always do. Whenever there's a gathering, you're not fighting the society. You're not going to transform society. But we can take that and transform a little bit. We also did Super Bowl weekend. We would host it in the gym of the masjid, right? These people are in the masjid. Get some free food. Hang out with some people. They watched it. And some people are surprised. They're saying, you're bringing lahu here? I said, the lahu is not going anywhere. It's either in people's homes by themselves, or we can make something out of it, right? And hopefully Allah rewards us for trying to make something out of what is not disappearing anytime soon. Yeah. Right? It's here either way. You know that the Hadrami's visit to Nabiullah Hud, you heard about that? No. The Habaib do a visit to Nabiullah Hud. right? And they spend almost like, I don't know, 2 weeks or something there. And they give talks and have gatherings. It's like a huge convention. It's their version of ISNA, right? Huge convention, all outdoors. And the grave of Sayyidah Hud is there. But that visitation was a marketplace way before Islam even. So when the Habayib got there, and it was al-Faqih al-Muqaddam, he said, oh, everyone's gathering there to buy and sell. Let's go give halaqas there, to do tabligh, like tabligh jama'ah, right? Let's give talks there. Let's make use of it.
Yeah.
Now the economy changed, the visitation stayed, and the economy changed. There are no such thing as marketplaces anymore.
Yeah.
So Sha'ban was where they went. The month of Sha'ban, you go down to Yemen. Everyone. Arabs, Meccans, Najd, Hijaz, everyone goes down to Hud and the reason they would do it during the month of Sha'ban, and the reason they would do it in that month or in that location was because Arabs had no government, no police. So they would do their big tijara in a sacred place so that you can have hayat from stealing. You'd be embarrassed to steal in a sacred place. So now, funny thing is, the visitation has grown into a huge musim of lectures and gatherings, and now the businesses come for that. It's reversed. So the dhikr has stayed and the tijara has gone, is now following the dhikr. And now vendors will wait until Sha'ban comes and they'll go to Hud to buy and sell food, to sell food and all that stuff. So amazing how the remembrance of Allah has stayed and is now being followed by the dunya as opposed to the opposite. So let's look at these slides on wahi as Omar is showing us some of the visitations of Hud. Did you show them, Omar? No. Passed it? Okay, no problem. Actually, you know what? Go back to it if you can. Let's take a look. I was curious to see what you're... Go back to that whole video. Yeah, let's see that video clip. There it is. So that's the visitation of Hud. Yeah, let's watch it. That rock there, that's where the head of Sayyidah Hud is. And that's the little masjid they built on top of the head. And then the body's huge. It's huge. Like from here to the desk. Really tall. That's the head side. Is the leg or head? All this is empty. And it gets filled up in Sha'ban. Everyone comes in Sha'ban. If I'm not mistaken, it was al-Faqih al-Muqaddam Muhammad ibn Ali Ba'alawi who initiated this. Oh, it's 4 days, they said. 4-day visit. I thought it was longer than that. 4 days. Look at that. Tents, tijara, shawarma, whatever, ta'am. The dunya is now tabi' lil-dhikr. A whole little city has been built.
So nobody lives there during the year?
No. According to what they told us, it goes to. Just cement buildings. No, this is still it. I don't know what that monument is. It must be something. This is who? Yeah. Yeah, that's who. I don't know what that other. Maybe that's the end of the body or something. We have to ask. So each tribe, the tribes, they all meet there too. Maybe those are their flags. Because the different tribes all meet up there and have sessions with their people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their conference. It's their annual conference, right? This is a different version of it. You got to come on to Yemen with us next time. Inshallah. You're going to love it. You will love it. We're going to send a contingency every year. And I'll myself go probably every other year. Inshallah. I love the Yemeni style of, see, that's how they make their domes.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a unique style, and they have the edges of their buildings are all the same, and they use that white lime over everything. That white lime is like always clean, always stays clean, because it's not paint. It's different. At night they go on the roof. See that masjid right there? They go on the roof of that masjid at night. That's what we did. We went on the roof. It was beautiful. And there. Wait, where did we go, Omar? Oh, on the right. We were on the right. So we went on the right on the roof. So how do we know it's the grave of Hud? It's one of those things passed down by tawatur from before Islam. So no. I think that's the body right there. I think. I don't know. SubhanAllah. All right, today we're covering the subject matter. We're covering wahi. What is wahi? And here we begin with this ayah. This is a nice piece of knowledge for everybody to know. It is explicit in the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وما كان لبشر أن يكلمه الله إلا وحيا أو من وراء حجاب أو ليرسل رسولا فيوحي بإذنه ما يشاء إنه علي حكيم. First of all, the word wahi, linguistically speaking, means any form of communication that is not seen or heard. That's the linguistic meaning of the word wahi. Okay. And so Allah Ta'ala tells us that He does not speak to people directly. In this world, in the next world, yes. But in this world, no. Does not speak to people directly. Except by wahi, or behind a veil, or through a messenger. So wahi, we know, is when the Prophet ﷺ would feel a couple things. Number one, an immense weight crushing his body. But it's unseen. He can't see it. But it feels like it's extremely difficult. And even one time he was on a camel when he received wahi, the camel had to sit down from the weight. And one time his leg was over the thigh, his knee was like leaning on the thigh of a sahabi. The sahabi thought his femur would break from the weight. Number two is heat. The Prophet would sweat in the middle of the winter when wahi came down. Number three, the ringing of a bell. And they would see that the Prophet ﷺ is in duress, is in struggling, because this is, Allah calls the Quran thaqil, right? A man came to Imam Malik and he said, I have a question. And the Malik said he did not know, that he would have to research it. He said, just tell me what you think, because it's a small issue. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have revealed upon you a heavy word. There is nothing light in religion. Nothing in ilm is a light matter. Yeah. Okay? So that's the third attribute. 3 attributes of this wahi. Then it would be lifted, and when it would be lifted, the Prophet would always have a big smile on his face, and he would recite what was told, what he received. That's the description of the wahi. No human being will receive this except the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, that is the number one method in which the Quran was revealed. Now we go to number 2. أو من وراء حجاب. What did the ulama say? من وراء حجاب means knowledge, a piece of information, something enters your heart without you knowing from where. It was not muktasab. It was not a jumble up of your ideas. For example, let's just take as an example, this drink, Khaybar's dirty chai. And I'm telling you, I'm rooting for Khaybar. I'll tell you why. Because they're about to get bullied and pushed around by 2-3 big name coffee shops. Not like they're guilty or anything. That are coming right in the vicinity of this little guy's coffee shop. First Muslim coffee shop in New Brunswick, right? And now these big or really well-funded, strong companies are coming. I like those guys too, right? I'll support them too. But I'm going to still support this little guy because he's around to get bullied. And I always sort of root for the underdog. But the other guys, we support them too. You know,
they'll do fine.
They'll do fine because more people will go. They may have 100% of the pie now, and they'll have 30% later, but that 30 will be bigger than the 100, right? The percentage is less, but the amount will be more. Which one is this? The white stuff?
Yeah.
Nice. So, when this guy comes up with the dirty chai, which is throwing some espresso on the chai. Yeah, that's what it is. So you can attribute that to your ideas. You're thinking about espresso all day. You're thinking about coffee all day. So one day you mix the two, right? That's the idea. So certain ideas are a result of they're already in your mind. But when an idea comes into your heart, you don't know where it came from, and it was not something you were ever thinking about, and is totally novel to all your other ideas. And of course, this is related to the deen. Benefits in religion, in life and religion. Okay. Then that is what's known as ilham. That is what is the definition of أو من وراء حجاب. We turn that ilham. من وراء حجاب means you do not see the origin of where it came from. Okay. Just قذفت في قلبي. Sometimes it feels like it entered into your mouth and you said it. Right? Like a word, you said it. So who, for example, received this? The mother of Musa.
Correct.
The mother of Musa received this. It entered into her heart, put him in the river. And she knew that was no mother ever would think of something like that. Because she knew it was from Allah. And Allah called it wahi. So that is wahi in the linguistic sense of the word. Technically speaking in Sharia, wahi equals the Quran. And there's no wahi after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that is ilham. And when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam receives ilham and speaks it to the people, it's called hadith Qudsi. Okay, hadith Qudsi. Number 3, أو يرسل رسولا. This is the second manner by which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam received the Quran. Sayyidina Jibreel used to come in a form, and the most similar person that lived at that time that looked like that form was Dihya al-Kalbi. Some people think, why did he come as Dihya al-Kalbi, as a random Sahabi? Number one, it's a sharaf to Dihya al-Kalbi, to elevate his name. Well, where else do you hear his name? That he looked like Jibreel. Secondly, it may not necessarily be for a reason. It's just this is how Jibreel looked in his human form. And Dihya happened to look like that too. So there's no other connection beyond that. Al-Kalbi means his tribe used to train dogs. Because people wonder, why would you call someone Al-Kalbi, right? It means that his tribe used to train dogs. And his tribe was famous for that. So Dihya al-Kalbi, he had an appearance that had that long black hair, as Sayyidina Jibreel is described, that was always looking wet. And he would always wear white clothes and look like he just came out of a shower. And the Sahaba, why that was unique, anybody who's ever lived in a desert knows that wet black hair is not going to be wet for long. It's going to be dusty. The water on the hair will stick, that will cause the dust to stick on. So you're never going to last a long time with wet black hair. And when you're in those old days, if you came out with a shower, having taken a shower, that means you stayed at someone's house, right? Because you couldn't have traveled. You would be dusty and disheveled if you traveled. So therefore, whose house did you stay at? And if you know that how Medina was so small, everyone lived next to each other. In this studio that we have here, there could be a house here and a house there. Literally, the homes were so small. They're almost like tents. Right? Living in Mecca and Medina was almost this like living in, you go to a tent campground in Vermont or Massachusetts or Pennsylvania, and you see tent here, tent there, tent there. That's how they used to live. Houses were so small, sometimes tents too. In any event, Sayyidina Jibreel would simply speak to the Prophet like a human speaks to another human. And the Prophet ﷺ said that's easier. That was the easiest. And how the Prophet reviewed the Quran with Sayyidina Jibreel was in the form of a human. So Jibreel would come to him and they would sit together and they would recite, and Sayyidina Jibreel would say, remove this ayah, put this ayah, elevate this ayah, put this surah first, put this surah second. Okay. So that is the methods by which the Quran was revealed, was method 1 and method 3. All right, next slide. We only have 2 slides today. All right. Sayyidina al-Imam al-Tahawi says, وَأَنزَلَهُ عَلَى نَبِيهِ وَحْيًا وَصَدَّقَهُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ حَقًّا. He sent it down upon his messenger as revelation. The believers accept all of this as truth. So, linguistic meaning of wahi: any communication cannot be seen or heard. Technical meaning in Sharia: revelation of the Quran to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, wahi to prophets, non-prophets, and animals is all mentioned in the Quran using the linguistic meaning. Mm-hmm. And to prophets, it's the holy book they receive. To non-prophets, it's inspiration to do something, like the mother of Moses. And to animals, it's the instinct with which they were created. Every animal is created with an instinct. So that means Allah Ta'ala does not send an angel to the bees to speak, nor does he thrust from himself knowledge into their hearts, right? Rather, he creates them with an instinct. I mean, the instinct of the bee and the ant, these are like amazing animals. Just because they're small is irrelevant. Microchips are small too. And these are the people make billion-dollar industry on the little microchips, right? The bees, their knowledge that they have, and they sense another bee has been at the pollen, right? They don't take from it. They only eat what's tahir, right? لا يخطب المسلم على خطبة أخيه. You know, right? You see the man's is about to be engaged. Forget that. You know that your brother on Friday, he has a meeting with sister so-and-so's family. You say, okay, that's Friday. Today's Monday. And you go out there, right? Let me beat him to it. Haram. It's haram to do. So we cannot, or also in bargaining, we're almost at a deal. You can't cut in the middle and say, I got a better deal. You can't do that. Right? So the bees don't do that. When they see that another bee has been at this flower, he only wants virgin flowers. He goes to a flower that no one's touched before. So the bees are amazing creatures and amazing animals. You know, ants have their own sharia too. There was an experiment that a guy did by putting a cube of sugar out and waiting to see what the ants would do. So the ants went, one ant came, looked at this. I wish I can find the exact study. Looked at this cube of sugar, walked around it, left. He looked and he found the ant coming back with like 4 or 5 other ants. So he put a piece of paper in the middle like this, and he picked up the piece of sugar. Then he lifted the paper. And the poor ant got back and he's circling where the sugar was. And he's like, where is it? And they all leave. Then that ant comes back because he can't believe it. Like he saw the sugar there. So he puts a piece of sugar back. He's totally messing with this ant's head. Then the ant goes back, brings his friends again. And this time again, he takes the sugar away before they get there. And they're all looking, and he does the same thing. So they all leave again, and he puts the sugar back. So then he calls his friends the 3rd time. Now, the guy didn't expect this, and he felt really bad at the end of this experiment. He lifted the sugar cube again. And for the 3rd time, they found nothing. So he found that they all huddled into a little circle for a very short time. Then they all dispersed. And then he looked and he found the ant decapitated.
They killed them. I knew it.
And he was like, oh, I did that. I just killed an ant, right? I caused it, poor guy, to be oppressed. And they decapitated the ant. So they have like a sharia on you can't lie. You're wasting our time here.
Yeah.
Liars, you lie 3 times, you're going to be killed. Yeah, three lies, you're dead. So, I mean, if somebody could look that up, that's is a crazy experiment and a crazy story. Imam Safwan, what do you have for us today?
Just your sahbah, habibi. That's all, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah.
Happy to be with you.
Any ideas come to your mind? Let's hear them. Some of that honey from that Lebanese heart. What is Lebanese honey? You guys have your own honey?
We have good honey. Yeah, alhamdulillah. I think it just falls under the Mubarak.
Yeah.
The barakah of Sham in general. Good honey, good zaytun, olive oil, pomegranates, all the good stuff. Citrus.
Olive oil. The shawam, all the Arabs have always used it for their skin too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Skin. Sheikh Muhammad Yaqub used to say his dad every morning would take a whole tablespoon of olive oil. But
100%.
by the way, if you go to a supermarket, you're not buying real olive oil. You're buying it maybe 40% olive oil and 60% seed oil. When I was young, olive oil was green, right? And it had a taste. And you bought a bottle this big, right? Time goes on, you buy a bottle this big now, and it comes out yellow with no taste. I'm like, we get an actual olive oil? So it's like different cuts of the olive oil, different squeezes. That's what it is. So it may say 100% olive oil, but it's which squeeze. So, and which olives too. So if you go to the Arab stores, you get the bottle of dark green olive oil. That stuff, I'm telling you, if you have rashes on your skin, if you have issues on your skin, if you have any issues, you even use it as a lotion, right, on your skin. It does wonders. People who have rashes, they got irritations, try that. Don't try this stuff that has 100 chemicals in it. Like, who knows what that stuff is? I like stuff that has one ingredient. Just olive oil. That's it. Let's look at Sayyidina Luqman. He says, we said yesterday, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ. We covered that. And they said, يَخْتَارْ أَيُّ اخْتِيَارٍ سِوَى الْقُرْآنِ. Anything that you choose that is other than the Quran. So it means you have an option for religious work, or you have an option for, and you get distracted by that. That's lahu al-hadith. So, we were talking about the NFL playoffs. To the degree that that's distracting one from ilm, it's lahu al-hadith. To the degree that it's not, then it's yasiru lahwi halal, we could say. Small amount of lahu. لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So that's the shart right there. يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So when we say that all lahu and qasas was haram, all ghina was haram, was deemed haram. In the time of the Prophet, that was the case. But why is that? It's because at that time, the only lahu that existed was the lahu that was intended to distract from the Prophet ﷺ.
What verse are you on, Sheikh?
We're on, right now we are on ayah number هو الحديث 6.
I found it, 6.
Yeah, 6. So, likewise, if you were to say TV is haram, we always say this, right? TV is haram. 10 years later, Iqra was founded, right? So, no, scholars said TV is haram because at that time, the only TV that existed was that which was lahu, right? And what CNN is telling us and all that stuff. Same thing, the idea of kalam is haram. Ilm al-kalam is haram. Yeah, all 4 imams said this because at that time, the only ilm al-kalam that existed was astray, was mu'tazili kalam, right? وإذا تتلى عليه آياتنا ولا مستكبرا كأن لم يسمعها كأن في أذنيه وقرا فبشره بعذاب أليم. This is very similar to the types of people you were talking about up in the academic world or some intellectual world, the moment you speak of the unseen, it's as if metal has entered their ears.
SubhanAllah.
Like they cannot stand for a second to hear anything about the unseen. And that is a sign, is a very bad sign of disease in the heart or nifaq or what have you. And the opposite. Some people, they look astray. And they are maybe astray. But when you mention the unseen, they perk up. So there's still some iman in that heart. And it's like, it's covered by their sins maybe, but they're still iman. And they love to hear about malaika. They love to hear about angels. They love to hear about the unseen. So that person has more hope than somebody when the unseen is mentioned, he turns off. What is the first description of the mu'min in Surah Al-Baqarah? يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. It's number one feature.
I also noticed the وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ. I always was astonished by this. When you remember Allah alone, or it's like Allah caused it, or Allah did it, or this is it really infuriates them.
Totally.
You're not giving them like how science did this and what is the mechanisms of it. Man, they lose their minds.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Take these people to a 5-star Michelin star restaurant, right? And ask them about the meal. What the difference does it make the meal? You're there for the chef, right? You're there for the chef. The chef is the source of this meal. So how did this lobster taste the way it is? Oh man, he's the chef, right? He's the best chef. That's why. No, they want asbab. They can only live in the world of asbab. Though asbab is the Arabic word for the physical means, because when Allah creates something in this world, He always uses means. Creates means. Right? He creates means. So in the next world, there are no asbab. Right? If I want food, the food appears. But nonetheless, there's still some sense of asbab, because the pleasure has a means. Right? But there's no sa'i for rizq. There's no working for my meal. There's no working for my food. So this is people who have a very hard time with the name of Allah Ta'ala. Stay away from him. I'm telling you, don't even bother. Stay far away from such a person who cannot stand. You can tell, certain people. Can I mention Allah in front of him? Can I sit and we speak about Allah for 10 minutes? You can't. They cannot handle it. And they may be fully Muslims. Something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong.
Also, if I can add, the asbab, they don't understand the use of asbab. The whole purpose of these recognizable patterns of how something comes to fruition is also so that you can recognize Allah. Because at some point, the pattern is going to deviate from the normal cause and effect that you perceive. And that's where you can recognize Allah. Right? And so if you understand science as a study of the patterns of the actions of Allah, then it can open up a whole new level of ma'rifah, of knowing Allah.
Asbab is, you come to appreciation, divine appreciation through asbab.
100%.
And it shows that this world is created because of how predictable the asbab are.
Exactly.
So we can predict when is the next solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, literally to like the 10th of a minute. Yeah. The 10th to the second. You can predict when is the next solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, and they always get it right. Right? So we're not denying that. Even with moon sighting, it's not a denial of the science of it, but there is one factor which you don't know on moon sighting, which is the clouds. Right? Once you introduce that third factor, the predictability of the visibility goes down a bit. So, and also it's for another purpose, moon sighting altogether, which is for a religion that's meant for everyone in the world. The methodology of getting there to do the act of worship needs to be open for everybody. It needs to be brought down to the lowest common denominator. If we say it's good, let's do it by mathematical calculations of visibility. Have you ever met anyone who knows how to do that stuff? Or what happens if we have no internet, we have no knowledge, right? So we lose all the information. So the information is in the hands of a few people. Yes, they spread it far and wide, Okay, and we could print it out, but nonetheless, it's in the hands of very few people. So Sharia, Allah has willed it for these acts of worship to be for everybody to do. And that's why it's not a denial of the actual existence of the math and the science and its soundness. He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. He doesn't give a tafsir to the next few ayahs, but we'll read them. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتُ النَّعِيمِ. This is from the Mutashabih, meaning a verse that has been repeated because it's so important to remember. Those who believe and do good, they have gardens of pleasure. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. They're in it forever. So the whole physics is completely changed. And the people who are with the asbab, and that's all they're focused on, they're making a big mistake, because this is one rendition of how things could be. Like when they talk about the creation of the human being, as if the human being can only be created in one way. But if you look at us, we're created, most of us, like 99.999% are created one way. Adam is created another way. Hawa was created another way. Aisha was created another way. Yahya and Ishaq were both created another way through barren women. Barren and menopausal women. All of us will be created yet another way, recreated. So we already believe in 6-7 methods of creation right there, of one human being, of the human being. So who's the one who's limited? They're the ones who've limited themselves, that there's like one way for people to have come into existence. It's not the case at all. And if Allah wanted to create human beings by watering a seed, they could have came out of the ground. If Allah wanted to create a human being through coming out of an egg, He could do that. So, وإذا تتلى عليه آياتنا, we said this one, الذين آمنوا وصلت لهم جنات النعيم خالدين فيها وعد الله حقا وهو العزيز الحكيم خلق السماوات بغير عمد ترونها. He created the heavens without pillars that you see. This ayah could have two different meanings. Meaning without pillars at all. That the heavens, the sky above us, the clouds above us are sitting there without any pillars, which sort of is defying gravity. The other way you could read it is without pillars that you see. So there are pillars, but you don't see them. So whichever way the science goes, right, it's going to work out. بغير عمد وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم. So this also, you can say, is one of the signs of the Quran and proofs of the Quran that the under the mountains are. We have anything besides that clip art? That's good enough by itself. But the inspiration is a bit dark. The color is a bit dark. It doesn't contrast well with the. Just make it a lighter blue. He says here the rawasiya, that there are poles in the ground holding the earth down. And that's where we now know that mountains, the bulk of the mountain is underground. And that's what's like pegs holding the earth down. رواسي أن تميد بكم وبث فيها من كل دابة. And He spread all kinds of animals. وأنزلنا من السماء ماء فأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم. And here He brought down the rain and brought out growth of all pears, different kinds of pears. من كل أنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم. Kareem, noble, because they did, in fact, they make tasbih. The plants make tasbih. You know, the most viewed Safina Society video of all is the question on, can a person put flowers on the grave of their loved one? Like, why that one has went nuts, nobody knows. And the answer in all the 4 madhabs is that it's a fadila to do so, because the Prophet ﷺ put 2 branches and said, as long as I hope that as long as they're green, it would reduce the punishment. So all the fuqaha said it's because of the tasbih of the green, living green plants. So in fact, we wouldn't limit it to flowers. We'd expand it to anything alive and green. So somehow that just got to a lot of people. They went crazy. And so much so I had to do a whole research on what the 4 madhabs said, and they all said the same thing. Very few of them said it was limited to that person. No, the Prophet ﷺ, when he does something, it's a sunnah for everybody. It's not limited to that person.
Or
so
to
that,
branches.
Or to branches, yeah. It's not limited. So that qawl is mardud. But it was a qawl, but it's mardud. It's just weird how things take off on the internet. It makes no sense. Because it's like a complete non-issue. Right?
Yeah, it's a non-issue, and it's like, for us, we don't know what's better. Like, these people who obsess about fiqh on even issues that are seemingly non-issues, or the people who are just like, oh, God will understand, Allah will understand. It's like, so you guys confused me.
Exactly. It's like Yahud and Nasara.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
One wants to nitpick the exact thing that you can and cannot put on a grave. Yeah. Where clearly the Prophet put branches on a grave, right? And is he not an example for everything? Do you know one time a man came to the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and he had asked the question, does the Prophet kiss his wives while fasting? Meaning like greet them and give them a kiss. So he received the answer from al-Mu'mineen. The answer is yes. So he then saw the Prophet ﷺ and he said, but that's you. And the Prophet became very upset. Why? Because what is the point of a prophet except to be your example? Right? وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. He's to be obeyed. He's to be followed. So therefore, if we start taking things as, oh, it's just for this, it's just for that. So then at that point, you're sloughing off a lot of sunan. So for example, after the Battle of Badr, he spoke to the mushrikeen in their graves. Right? And he said, they hear you just as you hear me, except they can't respond. According to most of the fuqaha, that applies to all the dead. Any dead person you go to, you speak to them at their grave. They hear you, but they can't respond. He says here now, هذا يعني الذي ذكرت مما تعاينون خلق الله فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دونه. This is an interesting claim from the Quran. This Quran is claiming to create the whole world. That's his creation. Show me other claimants. Off the top of your head, how many claimants are there that to the creation of the world? Off the top of your head, how many centuries have human beings been alive? Right? Where are the other claimants? That's actually one of the legal proofs. Because God in the Bible and the Torah and the Quran is claiming, he's saying that he created the world. So who else is claiming to create the world? Right? So, legal proof.
I have a kalam bone to pick. It was okay?
Yeah, bring it.
So this is, it's funny when you read, like, for instance, the translations. And so they'll say something like Allah is the most merciful. Yeah. So it's implying that there are other forces of mercy, and Allah is the most of them. He is the best of them. So even this is like, he says like فَأَرُونِي مَاذَا خَلَقُوا, right? So it's like, show me what they've created. But like from a theological perspective, anyone who has mercy in the world, they're receiving that mercy from Allah. Sure. It doesn't belong to them, right? Yeah. Anyone who creates something, they are just simply a vessel, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating through them. Correct. Right. Yeah. So this idea that, like, for instance, if you would say the most merciful or the most compassionate or the most, like, so you are inviting that there are people that are competing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a sense. And I feel like this does kind of mess with people. Yeah. I don't know exactly. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. But I wonder what some of these translations, what some of these theological thoughts, like, how do we, should we oppose them? Should we just, is it a valid disagreement where we just let it slide? Like, where does where does some of these kind of theological components, how do we challenge them or talk about them? I'd be interested to get your thoughts.
Omar, did you study this? Ahsanul Khaliqeen, for example.
Ahsan al-Khaliqeen, yeah.
Arham, most merciful of the merciful, best of creators.
Right.
So let's take best of creators. The tafsir of best of creators is that the word khalq can apply to somebody who mixes two created things. Yeah, he mixed two created things, therefore begot a third. So that's a type of khalq. So you're allowed to say, I created a new recipe.
Yeah.
So that's a creation that's majaz, though. It's not creation from nothing.
True.
Right? So, or can it be that it's speaking to the people with their perception?
Yeah.
Because they haven't yet got the perception that Allah is the creator of all things. And they may view him separate from his creation. His creation's doing and he's doing. It could be from that perspective. But that would be negated because the ayah of Ahsanul Khaliqeen is, yeah, it is speaking to, in general, to people. So we have to look at the tafsir of that. Look at the PDF generation. Immediately put Omar pulling up a PDF of volume like 33. All right, you know the PDF generation, man. You can't say anything. They're going to pull up.
Look at this,
dude. Omar will pull up a PDF in 2 seconds.
The speed.
Omar, you pull up the ayah Ahsanul Khaliqeen or Arhamur Rahimin.
Yeah.
Because rahmah can be attributed to as-sabab wal musabbib.
Yeah.
And anything, this is a qaida, anything that occurs can be attributed to the sabab and the musabbib. Right? For example, قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ. Malakul Maut takes your life, but we know he's a sabab.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I don't think that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended for tawheed to kind of negate any aspiration of the created being, right? Yeah. So it's like if the, for instance, there's a authentic hadith where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions the one who forgives a debt, right? So the man who forgives the debt, Allah says, I am more forgiving.
Yes.
Right? And so he forgives the man who forgave the debt of that person. So this idea that Allah is transacting, and him being the source of that goodness does not negate his ability to transact with creation.
True.
Right.
Sayyidina Musa, he's in constant state of, I'm doing this and you're doing that, right? So it's unlike what they call fana fillah, is not apparent in that. Right? Fana is like, I'm nothing, it's only Allah that's creating through me. Yeah, but Sayyidina Musa speaks, I'm doing this and you're doing that, right? So, which is comforting for someone who's still not in that fana state, right?
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful.
For fana, for the people who are listening, it refers to having almost disappeared. You don't even see yourself as a means anymore. Right? So even Sayyidina Musa, it is said in a narration that he was shown the ummah of the Prophet and all their virtues. They said, oh Allah, make me one of them, right? And that's comforting for someone who, we're not a type of people who are, whose goal is to negate our existence mentally. We're not meant to do that. But we are meant to know that everything happens by Allah Ta'ala. Yesterday a brother questioned me and he said, somebody said to ask your teacher, ask your ArcView teacher, he said, what is the meaning of Muradu ma hum alayh? Muradullahi ma hum alayh. And that means the will of Allah is what they're upon. So here you have to understand, I guess the trick question here is that, it's not a trick question, but the observation is that the murad of Allah, his will, is specifically, in theology, his creation, what he creates. And it is not what he is pleased with. Correct. That would be rida Allah. The correct word for rida Allah is what he's pleased with. For us, because we're weak creatures who lacking wisdom and everything, we don't do something that we're not pleased with. We don't approve. We don't try to do something that we don't like. But Allah creates what pleases Him and what doesn't please Him. But there's a wisdom behind it. There's always a wisdom behind it.
They say the wish and the will.
Correct. Yeah.
So the will is what's created. The wish is what the creator's pleased with.
Correct. And that's where, if you look at liberal ethics, they merge the two. It's basically whatever's out there in the world must be good, right? Or else, like, why would it exist? Yeah. And so, if everybody out there wants to be gay, let's support. I guess it's good to be gay. Whereas, like, the guy grew up calling people names for being gay. Now that he's running for president, that's how all these past presidents were, right? They all grew up making fun of gays. Then times changed while he was middle-aged. Now he's running for president. He's okay with gays, right? That's like Bill Clinton and these guys, all the same. Yeah. So why? Because in their morality, like, if it's out there and everyone's doing it, khalas, it must be good. And that's even the evolution of morality. The morality is changing with us. If it's changing, then what's the big deal? Then nothing's actually really true. Just subjectively true. All right, Omar, you got for us an answer or not yet?
Yeah.
Speaketh.
He says, you can read it.
Okay, here's another. See, this is what I mentioned. أحسن الخالقين في اعتقادكم وظنكم.
Yeah.
Speaking to their mentality that there are multiple creators. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never know which way to turn on these. لما قلت. Yeah. Okay, so
beautiful.
Yeah, so he basically says there that it's in your perspective that there are multiple creators.
Yeah.
And just as he says to the mushrikeen, this is easier for him. When nothing is easier or harder for Allah, it's all easy, right? And this is even if it said this is easy for him, as if that would imply there's something hard for him. No, there isn't. Everything is easy for Allah Ta'ala. It's important to realize there's no big and small, hard or difficult for Allah Ta'ala. It's not even big and small. Like the ant and the universe is big and small relative to us, right? All right, so let's continue here before we move on to some Q&A. We didn't do news for a long time, and I haven't done news for a long time. I've just been not interested anymore in the news. Unless once they start cooking in the West Bank, then we have to talk about that. Because they're going to start making a mess in the West Bank. We know that is coming. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ يعني العقل والعلم والعمل به والإصابة في الأمور. So intellect, hikmah, intellect, knowledge, and action upon it in a successful manner. So what is al-ilm? The definition of knowledge is إدراك الشيء على ما هو عليه في الواقع. Knowledge, true knowledge, is the perception and understanding of a thing as it is in reality. So the baseline of our epistemology is that there is a reality. And that's why Imam al-Nasafi begins his aqidah with حقائق الأمور ثابتة, meaning the reality of things are the baseline default established starting point. The fact that you're sitting here right in front of me is a starting point. There's a camera here and there's a book here. As we all perceive that is a truth and a starting point of all future discussions. Because if we doubt that, then we would doubt our own conclusions too. Then there would be no point to talk. And there is a school in philosophy that does this. Doubts our own existence. So we say, okay, we don't need to talk to you then. Because if you doubt your existence, then you also doubt your conclusion. And your conclusion is to have doubt, skepticism in your existence, then your actual conclusion is negated too, right? So you can never come up with any absolute conclusion if you doubt your own existence. Okay. So anyone who has that kind of philosophy where we doubt our own existence, then we can't talk to them. And their conclusion that we doubt our existence is negated as well. Because if the source is negated, the fruit is negated. All right, so he says here, that's what ilm is. Knowledge is to perceive something as it is in reality. Wisdom is then to act upon it in a manner that is successful. That is the whole summary of wisdom. قال محمد بن إسحاق وهو لقمان ابن ناعور ابن ناحور ابن تارخ, who is Azar. So he shares a grandfather with Prophet Ibrahim, according to Muhammad ibn Ishaq. وقال وهب إنه كان ابن أخت أيوب. He was the cousin of the Prophet Ayub. These are sayings that aren't the dominant saying.
Right.
The dominant saying is he is a man from East Africa. Some say Nubian, some say Habashi. Habashi is Ethiopian. Al-Waqidi كان قاضيا في بني إسرائيل. لا وهذا بعيد. Waqidi says he's a judge from Bani Israel. No, we know Luqman is said to be from East Africa. That's a dominant position. واتفق العلماء على أنه كان حكيما ولم يكن نبيا. It's agreed upon by the ulama. He was a wise man, not a prophet. Except Ikrimah, who says he's a Nabi. But that's not the accepted statement. وتفرد بهذا. He was alone in saying this. قال بعضهم خير لقمان بين النبوة والحكمة فاختار الحكمة. Some said he was given the choice between nubuwah and hikmah, and he chose wisdom. This is oftentimes said, and that Allah elevated him because he chose the humbler one, not wisdom rather than prophethood. That Allah elevated him by naming the Quran, a surah after him, and mentioning him by name in the Quran. And as nice as that sounds, but nonetheless, we do have to ask: is there a sanad for such a thing? And he doesn't mention one. It's just qila. Or qala ba'duhum. Some of them said. Who? Right? Yeah. Qila qala ba'duhum. Yeah. Waruya. There's another one. These are all the expressions that show that it's something that's circulated, but we don't know really who said it. He says another. Waruya. Ruya. As qila. Same as qila. It's been said. So this is the expression sighat at-tamrid. It's a expression that shows that there's a little bit of unknown to the narration. Or we should say fully unknown. He was taking his midday nap. فنودي يا لقمان. He was called يا لقمان هل لك أن يجعلك الله خليفة في الأرض لتحكم بين الناس بالحق. Would you like to be established as a Khalifa of Allah on the earth to judge people with wisdom and truth? فأجاب الصوت فقال إن خيرني ربي بين العافية والبلاء قبلت العافية ولم أقبل البلاء. If Allah gives me the choice to choose safety or to be tested, al-bala is a test that elevates your rank. He said, then I choose safety. I'd rather be safe with my Lord than be tested and possibly make a mistake. Even though if I succeed, I'll have a higher rank. وَإِنْ عَزَمَ عَلَيَّ فَسَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. But if he commands me and he demands it of me, then I listen and obey. And that's why he said he was given wisdom. Because if Allah wants him to be a Nabi, he'd make him a Nabi. If he gives me the choice, then I take the safer route. If Allah gives you the choice, you can right now die and go to the lowest heaven. But no more. Or you could live and you have an opportunity to get to the seventh heaven. Or you can go to hell. You got to take the first option, right? Cash out right now, right? You got to take the first option. And that's what he did. And that's what they said. This story goes of he was given the choice of prophethood or wisdom. And of course, again, we're saying ruya. So it's been said. Like the stories of Bani Israel, we're allowed to transmit them, neither having jazm that this is an absolute fact, nor throwing it out as a lie. فإني أعلم, he says, إن فعل ذلك إن فعل ذلك بي أعانني وعصمني. He says, because I know if Allah Ta'ala commands me to be a prophet, he helps me. But if he leaves me to choose, then I'm on my own. Okay. فقالت الملائكة بصوت لا يراهم. The angel said in a sound that he heard the sound but didn't see them. لما يا لقمان? Why, Luqman? He says, لأن الحاكم بأشد المنازل وأكدرها. Because the ruler, he is in the most severe and most severe position, most strict position, most pressured position. يغشاه الظلم. He can oppress. من كل مكان. The ability to oppress is all around him. Every day he makes a wrong decision or a bad decision, he's oppressing somebody. Okay. فبالأحرى أن ينجو. It's safer not to take power in the first place. وإن أخطأ طريق الجنة. If he makes a small mistake, he loses out on paradise. ومن يكن في الدنيا ذليلا خير من أن يكون شريفا. Right? It's safer, it's better in this world, better on your ego to be humble than to be noble. Because the humble person has no route to ever being arrogant. Right? But the noble person, yes, he could do a lot of good with his nobility, but he also be arrogant. Does somebody ask, what's better, to give one big sadaqah or many small sadaqahs? The answer is many small sadaqahs better, because number one, you get used to your hands giving out wealth. You remember Allah more, and each sadaqah has nothing to praise about. Whereas one big sadaqah has the ability for you to praise yourself and other people to praise you. And you go from one big sadaqah to next year you give another sadaqah, you've been tight-fisted for a whole year, your heart gets hardened, and you don't think about Allah, and you don't get your nafs used to giving. So if you were to have $1,000 to give away, you're better off giving 10. It's better for you, right? It may be better for the other person to receive 1,000 straight rather than 100 different people getting $10 each. So that is the philosophy difference between Sayyidah Aisha and Sayyidah Asma. Asma used to save all the money, then give it to one person to really change their month. Sayyidah Aisha used to give right away. She feared to have anything in her home. She feared that her heart not be constantly moving in sadaqah. So she wouldn't want to wait. So much so that a man came and gave her a cut of lamb, a raw piece of meat for the day to eat. So every time a poor person came, she gave him a cut, gave him a cut, gave him a cut. Then at the end of the day, she was fasting. She said, all right, let's have our iftar. She looked and the servant said, you gave away all the meat? So, subhanAllah, we had this big leg of lamb. Now you give it all away. And she became pale and she became sickly and tired because she hadn't had except for a few dates to break her iftar on, break her fast on. And that's when her nephew, Abdullah ibn Zubayr, came in. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, by this time, he's an adult. He's a man. He's not a child anymore. And he said, why is she sick today? Because he can come in her without hijab. That's Asma, her sister's son. So the servant said, you know, Aisha, every time some people bring meat or bring money or give her gifts, she gives it away, right away to the poor. He said, from now on, any money that comes, you set her aside. I'm going to manage her finances from now on. And the next day, someone came in and the servant says, she said, what's been coming? She's like, nothing. Zubayr said he's taking control of your finances from now on. Abdullah bin Zubayr, I mean. She became so angry. She said, go and tell him never to show his face in my house again. And he was like, oh, he made a mistake. Sayyidah Aisha was fiery. So much so the Prophet ﷺ gave her a dua, أطفئ نار قلبي. She was fiery. And her reddish appearance was similar to her personality, right? So it took a long time for Abdullah bin Zubayr to apologize to her. And she accepted his apology. But that was her method of giving sadaqah, to give it out all the time. So if you're sharif, you can go astray, or you could be really good. But if you're humble, there's no outlet for you to be arrogant. That's why the arrogant beggar, for example, why is he in the fire? Because you have nothing to be arrogant about. All right? Al-Malik al-Kadhab, the king who lies. So why are you lying? You're the king. You should fear nobody, right? And then they said the third one is a shaykh zani, the shaykh, the old man who commits zina. Whereas your testosterone level is down in the hadids, in the basement. With what are you committing zina? Right? So these three are in the fire because it's the opposite. You should really have nothing to be arrogant about, nothing to lie about, and no reason to commit zina. The young man who commits zina, it's still sinful, but do you at least understand why? He continues, he says, وَمَنْ يَخْتَرِ الدُّنْيَا عَلَى الْآخِرَةِ تَفْتِنُهُ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا يُصِيبُ الْآخِرَةِ. If you choose dunya over akhirah, the dunya will be a fitna for you and you will not have success in the akhirah. And this means mainly more so with your heart and your intention. So nobody should say here, okay, well, that shouldn't work because that's choosing the dunya. Choosing the dunya is really, if you think about it, as outside of haram and halal, it's with your heart. They said the famous story of one of the Ahlullah, he said, I went to Mecca and I saw something ajib. I saw an old man hanging on the kiswa of the Kaaba, asking Allah for more money, for dunya, a nice house and more money. Then later in the day, I was in the marketplace and I saw a young man who should be seeking the dunya because he's got his whole life ahead of him, buying and selling all day long, and on his tongue is dhikrullah. So they're the opposite states. So one, he's in the marketplace, but his heart is with Allah. The other man, he's at the kiswat al-Kaaba, he's asking for the dunya. They said asking for a spouse is not dunya. Asking for a zawj is not asking for dunya. And asking for wealth that you need to fulfill your obligations is also not dunya. He says, فَعَجِبَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. The malaika were astounded by this, بِحُسْنِ مَنْطِقِهِ, by the amazing speech that he gave and the line of thinking. فَنَامَ نَوْمَةً فَأُعْطِيَ الْحِكْمَةِ. He then slept again. He went back to take his nap and Allah thrust in him wisdom. فَانْتَبَهْ وَهُوَ يَتَكَلَّمُ بِهَا. He woke up and now he speaks with wisdom. ثُمَّ نُودِيَ دَاوُودُ بَعْدَهُ فَقَبِلَهَا وَلَمْ يَشْتَرِطْ مَا اشْتَرَطَهُ لُقْمَانُ. Okay. All right. So he says here, Sayyidina Dawood was given the same choice and he chose nubuwwah. And then he suffered many tribulations as a result of that. All right. وَكَانَ لُقْمَانُ يُؤَازِرُهُ بِحِكْمَتِهِ. And Dawood and Luqman lived at the same time, and Luqman would help Dawood with wisdom. All of this we have to say is like Israeliyat, but it's there are lessons to be learned from it. We're not a people who throw those out because our manhaj allows for reading those, taking the wisdoms, but don't have judgment. Likewise, da'if hadith. In Fada'ilul A'mal and Qasas, we can take da'if hadith. That's why now every time someone says, brother, that hadith is da'if, I said, okay, good, let me act upon it. Right? Because da'if hadith we don't use in rulings, but we use it in stories and we use it in extra good deeds or the description of rewards, as long as the hadith is not very, very weak. Okay. كان لقمان عبدا حبشيا نجارا. He started off his life, Luqman, as an Ethiopian slave who used to be a carpenter. Sa'id Musayyib said, كان خياطا. Sa'id Musayyib said he used to sew. Others said he was a shepherd. And one more thing to say, فَرُوِيَ أَنَّهُ لَقِيَهُ رَجُلٌ وَهُوَ يَتَكَلَّمُ بِالْحِكْمَةِ. A man saw him and he was speaking with wisdom. He says, aren't you so-and-so, the shepherd? He said, yes. He says, then how did you get this wisdom? He says, I never tell lies. صدق الحديث and أداء الأمانة. And if I'm trusted with something, I fulfill the trust. And I leave off what's not my business. Mujahid said he was from the East African slaves. Okay. East Africans who was taken as a slave. All right, we stop here. Let's do our unboxing and then take some Q&A. So Imam Safwan, we have a way to, our Umrah for Youth program?
Yeah.
You can join us, inshallah, in the future as a leader for Umrah for Youth. And we want to fund this Umrah for Youth by selling hoodies.
Allah.
Yeah. And this was our first experiment. This is our first print. We'll see if the print turned out any good. Huh? Another gift here? All right, so if this turns out good, we're going to put it on the store. And of course, our Patreon supporters are going to get the biggest discount for Patreon supporters. Here is our first hoodie.
Oh,
look at that.
mashallah. Nothing but facts.
This was designed between Rahma and Taimur and myself. Look at that.
That's beautiful.
That is a beautiful hoodie. Nothing but facts. And it's oversized kind of hoodie. You know, these thick oversized for the winter?
Those are fresh, man.
Yeah, this is a good hoodie, right?
We ship worldwide, right?
Huh? Hey, Taimur,
We ship worldwide.
where do we ship? Worldwide shipping. Listen, when you buy this, you're going to probably pay a pretty penny, but simultaneously, you are
NBF
helping
global.
send someone to Umrah.
Allahu Akbar.
Right. And so we just got 2 samples, black on white and white on black.
Allah.
The website is not up because I want to wear it a couple times, see how it feels. I want to wash it. I want you to get a quality product, right? I want the people to get a quality. I don't want to get a product that's just going to completely collapse in 2 days. Here you go. Look at this. So,
The white one is nice.
no, it's not embroidered. The other one was embroidered, but the embroidered sells the slim hoodies, which I despise. Fitted hoodies. Why? Right? You know those fitted hoodies? No, this is the oversized hoodie.
Yeah, oversized.
Right?
Better.
And also we want to test the sizing too.
It looks plush, man.
Oh, it's this material is plush.
That looks nice.
This material is really nice. Yeah, I love this. Feel that material.
Definitely,
Yeah.
That's,
That's a good material.
Mashallah.
So this is our Nothing But Facts, and it's basically, guess what it's inspired by? The intro. You know, the sunset on the palm trees? It's actually inspired by the intro. All right, so you got your sunset, your sunset and your palm trees here. Nothing but facts. And so we'll test them, and then we will, if they're good to go. So you get a quality hoodie, and you will pay a pretty penny, but you're going to pay a pretty penny to send people to Umrah. How many hoodies would it take to send a kid to Umrah?
How much is one? How much are we selling one for?
I don't know. Ask Taimur, but ask him what we get out of it too, because there's shipping costs. There's production costs, you know. Luqman Rashid said it's missing a G. Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's nothing but facts. That's why there's an apostrophe there. Nothing but facts. All right, here we have another unboxing. While I open this up, Omar, can you fire up GRT? See how we're doing with that? Hey, you're going to go to Syria soon? Did you have family in Syria now that it's free?
My wife is from Syria, so yeah.
Which part?
Sorry, I was just sending a text.
No problem. Which part?
My wife is from Latqiya, from Jabal al-Latqiya.
Never heard of it.
It's actually a Alawi stronghold.
You're joking.
Yeah, but there's Sunnis that live there.
So it has never been
So-
bombs or anything like that.
No, it's been
Safe.
relatively safe during Assad's time. And that's where a lot of the HTS has been looking for Assad loyalists and stuff in
subhanallah.
that area and stuff. But I haven't been to Syria since I don't even know, man. Mid 2000s maybe.
Ooh, subhanallah.
So I haven't been willing to go because my mother's side of the family is Ayyubi. And Ayyubi is one of those families. They catch you at the border. And they just toss you in jail.
Oh,
Mukhabarat
what were
and-
What were they associated with, the Ayyubis?
I mean, the Ayyubi's a well-known name.
Like Islamic
Like-
activism, or is that
Yeah,
why?
exactly, yeah. So I haven't gone actually. So inshallah, if things are on the up and up, I would love to go.
These guys went. Our guys went.
When?
They joined GRT. Yeah, GRT is the Global Relief Trust. Fired that up, Omar, for us, and we helped them raise money. They go then and they and he went last year, by the
recently?
way. Yeah,
Last
and
year?
they went to this prison too, Sinai prison.
Oh,
So we're at 12,545. It's time to do math. 16p. That puts us to 4. Really, all we need to get, we want to get to, what should we get to?
I mean, last time we were on 12 and 3 something, right? So they.
Yeah. We want to get to 12,600 today. That's how we do it. Just little pennies here and there. 12,600 British pounds is our goal to reach today. Every day, a little bit of sadaqah. $10, $1, like that. Here is the gift. Amazing, amazing Maghribi script of Quran. حيوك بما لم يحيك به الله ويقولون في أنفسهم لولا يعذبنا الله بما نقول حسبهم جهنم يصلونها فبئس المصير. Surah al-Munafiqun. Let's take a look at this. Beautiful Maghribi. Oh, both sides.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you just stick it up like that. Gorgeous Maghribi script. You can hang it. You could put it up like that. A gorgeous Maghribi script from Australia. MashaAllah, from Australia. All right, time for some Q&A. May Allah bless this giver of this gift to our studio. It's going to become a museum soon, I think, our studio. I mean, we got some gorgeous pieces here all around. We have amazing pieces that have been gifted to us. SubhanAllah. Really gorgeous Maghribi script. Hey, yeah, Imam Safwan, when you get a second, can you put this closer to the camera so that they could get a close-up? Let's see. It'll be hard to... Oh, it's all out of focus. Ah, there you go. Look how gorgeous that is. Maghribi script from a mushaf. Wow. Ooh. Ooh. That's some great focus. That's those Lebanese hands. By the way, this gift giver is Lebanese too. Yeah. Lebanese. He always is. MashaAllah. Allah yaftah alayhi wa yukrimhu. Typhoon Saral says, increase it to 12,700. Khalas. Our goal is now 12,700. Yeah, alhamdulillah, we already passed the 600, mashallah. Very good. Very good. When, Omar, can you tell us when is Salman and or Mubashir able to come on to tell us what they did in Syria? No, why? No, tell Mubashir to come on. My Shia friend claims his dad has divine interaction with one of their imams. Is this impossible? Divine interaction with their imams. Listen, it doesn't make a difference what people claim. The result is judged by the Sharia either way, right? So it doesn't make a difference if I tell you, no, he's having dreams of shaitan. I don't need to make those accusations, right? What is the results? Is the result? Are you telling us to do something now aligned with the Sharia or not aligned? Then it doesn't make a difference if the source is your nafs, or your perceived dream, or Iblis, or whoever it is. Whoever it is that you imagine the source to be, it's irrelevant. The conclusion is all I have to judge by. And that's how the mutamakkinin, the people of tamkeen in the spiritual realm, that's how they judge everything. Yeah. Yes, maybe they could say, okay, this is a false dream, it's from shaitan, it's from your nafs, or it's a true dream. But really, at the end of the day, it's irrelevant because we judge by what the dream is asking you to do. What conclusion is it bringing you? Do I need to have a dream that Abu Bakr Siddiq is a righteous companion? Right? My brother said, someone had a dream, said recently prayed duha. Taib, that's good. Now you have extra reason. It was a reason in the first place, right? Now it's extra. He says, can I believe it's real? I said, yeah, you should believe that's real because it's sunnah in the first place. Yeah. So that's how we judge. It's from fada'il in the first place. Yeah.
The problem is that when they take obligations from dreams, that's where the big problem.
That's where it is. Yeah, that's where it is. Like
the sheikh said to do this, and it's an obligation.
exactly, like a permissible thing that you treat as an obligation. Like move to Syria because it's the end of times. You know that there was a group who did that, right? Way back in the early year 2002. Yeah. There was a guy who he used to attend to a gathering, and then he said to Sheikh, can I go and lead a similar gathering of dhikr in my home city of Scotland? In Scotland. He said, yeah, why not? So he said, he went back to Scotland and he came with this big story. Sheikh has appointed me, right, to lead Scotland. No, he didn't. He just said, yeah, you can. Anyone could go lead dhikr, right? Yeah, he just asked him a very simple thing. So this guy was a narcissist, apparently. Shaitan played with his head. He said, I had dreams that our whole little community, this is back before the internet was so, like today you're part of a digital world, right? But back in the day, you could be part of a small little community and a guy could make a cult out of it. So he said, we have to all go to Syria. The Mahdi has ordered me in a dream to go to Syria. So they went to Syria and it was a disaster for all of them. Like they left jobs, went to Syria, and things turned out bad. And no Mahdi came nor Dajjal, right? He was the Dajjal. So that's an example where you have to ask yourself, how are you treating this halal thing? To go to Syria, is it halal? Yes, it's halal. But if you're treating it like an obligation, that's why these things get canceled. Zohaib, can you do an episode on the misguidance of Javed Ghamdi? Does he speak in Urdu or in English? Is it valid to follow the Dhahiri Madhab? No. Madhabs have to come down with mutawatir chains of transmission. Widespread chains of transmission in such a way that nobody could hoodwink anyone else on what the Imam said, and we can have certainty on what the Imam said. And it's not just one Imam, of course. It's a methodology that's looked at over and over and over through the generations and discussed amongst peers until they come up with a conclusion. So if someone were to say, I'm a Dhahiri, and there's like 5 Dhahiris on the face of the earth, right? Then somebody could make claims about what Dhahir said, and he would have nobody to check if he understood properly, and then nobody to check him if he goes astray with the Dhahiri, in the name of the Dhahiri Madhab. So I read that Imam al-Dhahiri says this. Okay, yeah, but was that his last statement? Did he say another statement in another book? Because they change their fatwa all the time. Is this what he meant by what he said? Right? So no, a madhab is far more complicated than just the books. If all you have is just the books of Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna, for example, or the Imam of Sham was, subhanallah, who was the Imam of Sham? The Mujtahid Mutlaq of Sham. Imam Malik says he's an Imam. Al-Awza'i. Al-Awza'i. If I had all the fatwa of Al-Awza'i, I can't give fatwa from that because I don't know if it's an accurate manuscript. No clue. If it's an accurate manuscript or the manuscript has errors. No clue if he changes opinion later. Shafi'i has 2 fiqhs, right? No clue. No clue. Even the very close student to Imam Malik, Abdurrahman bin Qasim, 20 years with Imam Malik. He has so much knowledge of how Malik thinks that he, in the madhab, when he overrides Malik, we go by him. Why does he override Malik? He says, because I know Malik, if he saw this evidence, he would have said this. So Malik says X, Abdurrahman bin Qasim says, no, it's Y. Because there's a piece of information, if Malik knew, I know he would have said Y. So we trust him on that.
Allahu Akbar.
Right? So it's a madhab. It's like a whole structure of scholars and checking, ensuring that we understood what the Imam said. What was the last statement that he said? Like, what would he have said? All that. That's just for the dabt, the accuracy of what the Imam says. Then you have the confirmation. So let's hypothetically say somehow you did get the final word of Al-Awza'i, and then your nafs plays with you and you twist it how many Awza'is out there are there to check you? So say, no, this guy's an Awza'i fraud, right? He's not representing Awza'i properly. It's one of the benefits of the internet, right? We are constantly being checked, and nobody should have a problem with it. But the checking has to be sound. And we all go back to the books. We all open them up and see what the actual madhab says, right? And we have to accept it. We have to accept what he says. Yeah. And sometimes a sheikh will answer very briefly. And another sheikh will say, yes, he gave you the very brief answer, but there's 5 other factors, right? Happens all the time. Suhaib says, Al-Ghamdi's lectures are not in Arabic, right? What's your difference between you and the Salafi Aqidah? Well, here's the thing. I appeared in an interview with Bro Haji yesterday, which was very nice. Now, he is Hanafi and Athari. And then there is a clip with, on the, what is it? The Young Smirks, is it? I can't remember what it's called, but the brother is a Scottish brother. He's a very jovial and nice brother. I personally like him. He doesn't like me, but that's okay because he is very strict in his aqidah. Fine, no problem. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't really want to talk. It's okay. I don't even have an issue with that. But there was a little bit of a misrepresentation. I think they misunderstood me, and then they end up misrepresenting the Ash'ari aqidah. But I would talk to Bro Haji. I would talk to the Young Smirks. I would talk to Sheikh McCarthy. It doesn't have to end in agreement, but it doesn't have to be a fight either, right?
Is this on Twitter or something? What is
YouTube.
Okay.
So they have a big sheikh in their circles named McCarthy. I think he's American, but he didn't understand. He misrepresented the Ash'ari Aqeedah in a way, right? Which, whatever. These fights, these things shouldn't be fights. But I would love to talk to them, but they are very mutahaffidh, and they don't talk to non-Salafis so that people don't think that they support that. No problem. I think you're wrong about what you think about what the Ash'ari Aqeedah is, and even what you think that I think about you, right? But nonetheless, it would be nice to have a dialogue, but not everyone wants to have that. So, yeah. But also, since coming back from Yemen, I don't go on those. I just focus on myself and studying Khalil with the sheikh that we're studying it with, and that's it. And now it's like, subhanAllah, on one hand, there's like a lot of less stress on your mind. Yeah. And there's a lot more time. Yeah. But also, I don't know a lot of things. Like, I didn't know that. But what I don't know is stuff everybody knows, but it has no value. Like Elon Musk doing the... I didn't know that until last night, right? They're like, you didn't know? I was like, no, I didn't know. Yeah. Had no clue.
But that's the problem with those guys, is they're constantly refuting stuff. And that means if you're refuting, that means you have to study it.
That's true. Yeah.
You have to master the material. Yeah. And so if you're telling people they can't study it, but in order to refute, you have to study it, then naturally you're going to make a bunch of mistakes because you're misrepresenting the material you're refuting.
And if you're reading about it from your sources who have misunderstood it, then now it's compounded.
It's compounded ignorance, yeah. SubhanAllah. That's why it made Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, so special. Yeah. Mastered everything.
He wrote a textbook on the subject that he then refuted.
Yeah, exactly.
He wrote the textbook.
He did it to show that he didn't misunderstand.
Yeah, that he understood it.
That's just so absurd.
Yeah, no, he was at another level.
He spent like years. He just
not
like a week.
Jawuku says, can somebody be Athari in Aqidah and Maliki in Fiqh, or Ash'ari Aqidah and Hanbali in Fiqh? As long as your Aqidah is sound and your Fiqh is sound. Kullu khair. Our goal is التواضع لله والعبادة والدعوة, and as long as your Aqidah is sound and your Fiqh is sound, that's what's important. And these things shouldn't be treated like teams or labels and brands. What is the ruling on Salawat? Some say that there is shirk in as-salat at-tafrijiyyah. No, there's no shirk in it at all. It's a mix of salawat and dua. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد. Yes, let me ask you a question. Does the Prophet ﷺ, are problems solved by the Prophet? Of course they are, right? He is the sabab by which Allah solved a lot of problems. وَتَنْفَرِجُ بِالْكُرَبِ, meaning in you have a calamity, the Prophet ﷺ can remove you from the calamity. Does not Islam remove us from many calamities? And who did Islam come through? Through the Prophet. And through salawat, Allah blesses us and removes us from calamity. So you can look at it from both ways. وَتُقْضَى بِالْحَوَائِجِ, through the Prophet, our needs met, of course. Needs are met by anybody. I can meet your needs. Al-haja is a need, right? If you're down, ran out of gas, I can go get you gas. Then I fulfilled your haja. So it's not like it's a godly position. It's not. تُقْضَى بِالْحَوَائِجِ. تَنَالُ بِهِ الرَّغَائِبِ, through the Prophet can my desires be met. I'm telling you again, I can meet your desire. Any husband meets his wife's desires, right? So that is not a godly position. But through salah on the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's a wasila for Allah to accept our dua and to have our desires met. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is our desire? Is Jannah not our desire? A good life a desire? Through the Sharia, those things are attained. And the Sharia came from the Prophet. Yes, through the Prophet, you have a good ending in life, of course, by following his sunnah and living a life of love of the Messenger and following his Sharia. That is a means to having a good end. حسن الخواتيم. وَيُسْتَسْقَى الْغَمَامُ بِوَجْهِ الْكَرِيمِ. And for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ, because of him, rain comes down. Yes, and not because of, is there not a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, if it was not for الشيوخ الركع والأطفال الرُّدَّع, well, what is it, the animal, the bahaim that is grazing, then you would all be punished, right? The Prophet ﷺ has a hadith, if it was not for old men worshipping, babies nursing, and animals grazing, you'd all be punished, right? So therefore, because of the presence of goodness on the earth, then we're protected and rain comes down and all sustenance comes to us, right? So the Prophet said that about non-prophets. So by mafhum al-awla, it's more worthy for that mercy to come down because of the Prophet ﷺ. How about وَمَا كُنَّا نُعَذِّبُهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ. We would not punish them while you're amongst them. So they're protected from punishment because the Prophet was living in Mecca, right? And the Prophet went during the Fath, the conquest of Mecca. They're going to get punished, right? No killing, very little killing happened, and everyone received mercy because the Prophet was amongst them. So it's okay and completely valid to say that al-ghamam, the rain comes, meaning mercy, comes because the Prophet is amongst us. When Islam enters a city, does not mercy come down to that city? Allah. Right? Of course it does. That's it. That's a salah at-tafrijiyyah. Has those 5 lines, and I just clearly explained to you how each of the 5 things can apply to non-prophets, let alone the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. None of them are divine qualities. All of them.
Well, I mean, if you have correct tawheed, though, it shouldn't be an issue. That's what I'm saying. Is like this whole competition thing should not be an issue.
It's not an issue to compete with Allah because everyone is a sabab.
Exactly.
From Allah.
Yeah.
And is there going to be a greater sabab than the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Even after his death, his teaching is more valuable than any living person, right? And when you follow his teaching, can we not attribute it to him? If the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, for example, to not have khalwa. The prohibition of khalwa is in hadith. It's not in the Quran, right? And this khalwa saves you. It literally, the prohibition of khalwa saves you from so many possible doubts that people could have about you. And you always have it as a policy. Then the Me Too movement comes and you say, alhamdulillah, I never practice khalwa. And you say, I'm saved through the Prophet. Yeah, because he's the sabab by which I'm saved. Yeah. And you're allowed to attribute the action to the sabab and the musabbib. Of course, bi'idhnillah, by the permission of Allah. Same thing. So yes, 1400 years ago the Prophet taught that, but I'm applying it today, and I was saved by it today. 004, please don't hide my question and ask it. All right, here it is. Every day I feel that I have committed kufr. Maybe, all right, we'll see. I'm not going to say anything yet. I know that I'm not certain, but then I feel that I'm lying to myself, and I actually am certain. I am re-entering Islam every day. Please advise. First of all, who is teaching you about shirk and kufr? Because there is a group of people who will have you convinced that you may wake up at any given moment and commit shirk. I'm telling you, they can create a form of OCD for you.
Yeah.
At any given moment, you just commit a shirk. I'm telling you. So that's number one. Where are you getting your Islamic knowledge from? Ask yourself this question. Secondly, maybe possibly that this kufr is just a symptom, and that it's actually OCD, and that if it's not kufr, it'll be najasa. If it's not najasa, it'll be sihr. If it's not sihr, it'll be bad luck or whatever. So it may actually be OCD. So see a medical professional. It's not always the content, right? So you're afraid of committing kufr every day? All right, we cure you from that. Next day you're going to say, my wudu is invalid constantly. It's religious, what do they call it? Scrupulosity, a type of OCD related to religious matters. If it's not religious matters, it'll be germs. People have OCD with germs, stuff like that.
I just did a video on spiritual OCD.
Yeah.
Made its rounds.
You did a video on it?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what's your channel called? Put his channel here.
My Instagram is...
Imam Safwan now has a
just
podcast.
Imam Safwan Eid. No, we didn't release yet.
Or we're going to have a podcast.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just Imam Safwan Eid. There it is.
All right, link up
that video.
Link up. Look, put that middle picture so people see
that video.
the cool dude I'm
that
sitting
one.
next to. Put that picture up, Omar. That middle dude, so people could see who we're sitting next to here. There you go. This is who we're sitting next to, and he is very wise when it comes to the Quran, and this is his father next to him.
That's right.
He's never visited New Jersey, has he?
He came once.
Of all these years, he drove down once?
Just once.
From Boston?
Man, you don't want to make him drive
Yeah,
down,
that's
man.
true.
Inshallah, he'll come down soon.
Keep scrolling through these pictures.
No, the rest are all ads.
The rest are all posters for Gaza and
Yeah.
Sham. Very nice.
Oh, there's me and Dr.
Yeah, that's
Shadee.
when was that? Nice. Oh, look at that suit. Keep clicking. Oh, this is family pictures. All right, click.
I
off.
don't have that many. I don't have that many family
Okay.
pictures. No, you should stop.
Very
Please
good.
stop.
MashaAllah. Look at that mihrab. Which masjid is
That's
that?
Michigan. That's my old masjid.
I like the mihrab, but why the bathroom tiles? Now, who made that choice? That's way out in Michigan?
Yeah, Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, that's
It's
Never even heard
mid
of that
Michigan.
Saginaw Masjid. Don't take offense.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it looks like the old bathroom tiles,
it's
right?
nice. It's a nice masjid, mashallah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
Can you discuss the misguided masjid of the YouTube channel The Mahdi Has Appeared? The Mahdi has appeared. مش مشكلة. Make the claim. Mahdi can be a description of somebody, right? Guided. So if you're guided, show us the proof of your guidance. The first proof of your guidance is you don't call people to yourself. هذا رجل مجنون. Click on it. This is some kind of psyop. I guarantee you this is some kind of psyop, right? I've seen this guy. This is some janoon. Purchased views, I bet you. Okay, the Mahdi has appeared. Who have you guided? Yeah. Yeah. No, the guy's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. The Mahdi has appeared. Well, listen, if people have to, if people are listening to it, I guess we have to say something about it. But here's the question. If the Mahdi has appeared, then can he please do Mahdi-like things? Right? Such as maybe defeat some enemies, right? Make an army. Do Mahdi-like things. What the Prophet has described.
True.
Then, first of all, what's your name in the first place? Salih what is his name? The guy, we don't even know his name. Okay, so this is some kind of Satanism mingled with who knows what. Yeah. It's a psyop, I guarantee you. All right. The Mahdi has a YouTube channel. Telling you, man. Anything you think of, you'll find it on the internet.
You're talking about what is a woman?
Gigi says, Christian friend asked me, why did our beloved Prophet ﷺ marry a woman who was 9 years old? But I didn't know how to answer him. What should I say? We'll say, well, because God guided him to that. What's the issue? If it's from God, she could be 1 year old. It's from God. It's a command of God, right? If it's from God, she could be 70 years old. What's the difference, right? If it's from God is the question. So you don't believe that he receives revelation from God. That's the bigger issue than marrying someone young. That's what the issue you should be focused on. That he's lying about receiving his revelation from God. That's your belief now. Then what difference does it make what he does? So that's the real question to everyone investigating Islam. I have a guy who's literally like a scholar in Sharia because he wants to investigate every ruling of Islam before entering Islam. I said, you're going about this the wrong way. You go about the source. Is Muhammad a prophet of God? Is the Quran the preserved word of God? Case closed. If the answer is yes, whatsoever they bring you is acceptable, whether you like it or not. The Quran says Allah brings you something, you don't like it, but it's good for you. And you like it, and it's bad for you. So it shouldn't have to be convinced by every single little ruling that you find normal to yourself. And here's your grandfather's, Omar is bringing, let's go back to that, Omar. Your own grandfather's marrying 7 and 12 years old. Okay? Generally, marriage in the 1800s, consent was between 7 and 12 years old. Legal. And it's on top of that. Why are you bothered? Her mother and father attended the wedding and were happy. So why is it that love has no limits when you do your fahsha and munkar? Two guys want to marry each other, leave them alone. Two women and two guys want to get together and have a 4 couple, leave them alone. Love is love. Okay, so love is love back then too, right? By your own standard, Yanni. Flossie B says, how can I develop a habit of consistency? And I give you 2 pieces of advice. Decrease the thing you want to be habituated. Decrease it. Make it so simple that it would be criminal to leave it off. So one guy says, if you want to get physically fit, 5 push-ups, 5 sit-ups a day. How could you not do 5 push-ups and 5 sit-ups? Anyone could do that, right? So decrease it. Number 2, you should have memory triggers, things that would remind you. Like whether that's putting a card in your pocket, an index card in your car, an alarm, something that will trigger your memory to do it. And preferably a location and a time where you always do it. Why don't we has the Ummah never left off Jummah? Because Jummah has a time, a day, a place to be done. Yeah. Saad said, just tuned in. What's going on? So many different things. Age of Aisha, fake Mahdis. Is Taqlid Shirk? Many people from Ahli Hadith. Subhanallah. Did they give you the evidence for why it's shirk, or do they expect you to believe it? If they expect you to believe it without the evidence, then they're asking you to make taqlid.
If there's something that you do not have the intelligence to judge whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, then it is a necessity to do taqlid.
By necessity. We're all doing taqlid so many times every single day, right? Have you ever put water in a plug and plugged it in, right? Then why don't you do it? Because we've been told not to, right? We've been told that bad things will happen. Point being is that you have Islam, certain things that have no discussion in their being part of Islam. Just by reading the Quran, you know it. These things, we can list them for you in 5 minutes. These things that are known in religion by necessity. and have, for example, we don't pray 5 times a day because I'm Hanafi or Shafi or Maliki. You pray 5 times a day because that's Islam. You read one little hadith book like Nawawi's 40 hadith and you know that. But do you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before Fatiha? That's not part of known in religion by necessity. That requires a madhab. That you say it if on the madhab of Shafi, or you don't say it on the madhab of Abu Hanifa and Malik. So there is a trunk of the tree and they have branches of the tree. The trunk, we all see it. That's how Allah made trees. We all see the trunk, right? But the branches, I only see a couple. I don't see the ones on the other side of the tree or the middle of the tree. So ashya ghamida, certain things, I don't know, I can't tell. I'm going to have to trust you who's been in the tree. So same thing in madhabs.
Beautiful.
So traveler's prayer is part of Islam. We all know that. But what distance? Right? What if, let's say they say the distance is 36 miles. Let's say they say 48 miles. That's a common number. But what if my whole city, like Long Island, what if I'm in Long Island? The whole city is so long. Or New York or Chicago. One end of Manhattan to the next is like so long. Then what do I do now? Is it travelers or not? Do I have to pass a city limit or not? That's another ijtihadi question. How do I pray on an airplane? Find me that with the evidence, right? How do I pray on an airplane where it's facing the opposite of the qibla? I'm traveling back from Umrah. Do I turn around? Do I pray in the aisle? Well, we know it's makruh to pray where people walk because you're disrupting the people. All these types of questions. Ask your Ahli Hadith person, how do I pay zakah on Bitcoin? Currency or stock? And I want the evidence from the Quran. That's it. Quran and Hadith, that's it. How do I pay my zakat on Bitcoin?
Actually, Sheikh, would it be fair to say that majority of things that we do in life is, just to expand this, is based on taqlid? Like, this roof, for example. Yeah. These mics, this camera.
Yeah.
All of these are based on just blind following of someone that...
Correct. In the realm of tajribi knowledge, yeah.
Yeah. And then you go to a masjid, you're assuming that this is the qibla. Because why? Because people are... You're not asking for evidence.
100%.
Pretty much everything. Even growing up, right? Like when you're a child, you're learning like language and all these different things. You're not even able to comprehend the proofs. You're just accepting it as a child from your parents.
100%.
So you're 10 years old now, and then you learned everything without any evidence. You're just following it.
Aren't we trusting the fatwa of somebody who says the meat is halal? Because that is bimanzilat al-fatwa. It is a fatwa, right? Because he witnessed something and he gives you the religious ruling on it. He witnessed that the slaughter was halal or not. So you're trusting him, right? All right, here's another question. This will be our last question. Maybe we'll take 1 or 2 more questions. Is it permissible to deny jinn possession in Islam? It is permissible to deny. There is not an obligation in Islam to ever believe that jinn enter a human being. You don't have to believe that. Imam Ahmad said, it is mutawatir though. Imam Ahmad told his son, who had doubts about it, he said, no, we've all seen it. The person has abnormal strength, speaks with a different voice, and speaks with even a different language. So in life, people have seen it. But in religion, you're not obligated to believe it. If you want to deny all those people, then it's up to you. You may do that. But what you may not deny is, number 1, the existence of jinn. Number 2, the wiswas of jinn. And number 3, the ability of jinn to touch a person. Okay? That's in the Quran. And the ability of jinn to even run through a person, because that's in the hadith. Yajri fil mar'i majra dam. The Prophet ﷺ said that shaitan can flow into the body of a person, in the veins of a person. So we're not allowed to deny 4 things: the existence of jinn, the whispering of jinn, the touching of jinn, and they're flowing in the body. Flowing is different than possessing, okay? Possession is to overtake the intellect and the body of the person, speak on behalf of the person, take action with that person's body, and that has legal implications. In Islam, if there was a jinn possession, and let's say 3 shuyukh or 4 shuyukh are witness to it, and this little girl is now speaking Syriac with a man's voice, and her head's spinning around, and she kills someone. So what will the legal judgment be? So that's why jinn possession does have a different level of judgment. If a murderer says, I just kept hearing the voices inside of me saying, kill, 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 kill. It's like, I'm miskeen, but you did it though. You were fully aware.
Yeah.
And you're going to be judged by that. Jinn possession is a whole other thing. But no, it is not in religion an obligation to believe in jinn possession. But it is, as ulama have said it, mutawatir, mutawati. Tawatu is a little bit different than tawatur. A tawatu is when, like, Me Too, the Me Too movement was tawatu. Tawatu was that you saw it by yourself, you saw it by yourself, you saw it by yourself, you saw it by yourself. Everyone saw it, something by themselves. And they don't know each other to conspire in a manner that we would assume that they would conspire. They could conspire. So that's called a tawatu. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ used this term for dreams. One Sahabi came, he said, I had a dream that it was Laylatul Qadr. Another one had a dream it was Laylatul Qadr. Another had a dream it was Laylatul Qadr. The Prophet said, قَدْ تَوَاطَأَتْ الرُّؤَى. Not tawatarat. Tawata'at. Tawatur implies so many people saw the event at once. Like in New York, 9/11. You can never ever deny that 9/11 existed because there were hundreds of thousands of people in the city who saw it with their own naked eye.
So it's like mass witnessing versus
With the naked
mass transmission.
Correct. Mass witnessing. And then tawatu is so many people saw something similar who didn't know each other. So most jinn-related things is by tawatu, which is basically in one country they say, yes, jinn takes over, speaks another language, has immense strength, and has a different voice. Then you go to Jamaica, they say the same thing. You go to China, they say the same thing. You go to India, they say the same thing, and so on and so forth. That would be called tawatu. So there is tawatu on that. And as a result of that, Imam Ahmad said he held that it exists, but there is no religious reason for you to believe it exists. So if you want to not believe it, you don't have to. Riyadh says Assalamu alaikum from Cape Town, South Africa. You know, there's a brother inviting me to South Africa. Imam Safwan, if I get invited to South Africa, you want to come?
Yeah, I'm willing to go anywhere with you, Sheikh.
It'll be fun. Oh, those trips will be fun. I'm alienated by my extended family because I'm always referring to the Islamic view. Now I'm just tired and I want to focus on my inner self. No problem. You could do that. Many people have secular families that don't want to hear it. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them about it. You're not obligated. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a last question. How do we balance certainty and good hope of dua being positively answered with desperation and perseverance in dua? Throw in a little bit of zuhd. Throw in a little bit of wanting only Allah. That helps you persevere.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. You throw in that ingredient, I don't even need it. Right? But you continue it's like you're living double. One foot is doing zuhd. Another foot is still making dua. That's how you'll persevere for a long time. If you want something so much, it's such a burning fire that you're not having it becomes a sort of pain for you. So the solution is have a little zuhd.
Yeah. I always loved the hadith, one of these small pithy hadith, where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Khayr ad-du'a alhamdulillah." The best of dua is alhamdulillah. So spend more time in your dua, thanking Allah for what you already have.
100%.
And that will open doors, inshallah ta'ala.
100%. 100%. Be grateful for what you have, and realize what's the big deal if you don't get it? You might die tonight. Why are you worried so much? Think about this. And this is a great meditation. Every day to live, like tonight, when I sleep, I'm going to wake up in the afterlife. Like you find yourself so relaxed. So if you get good at this, you actually have to stop doing it because you'll be so relaxed you won't work, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they say about the zuhad. The shuyukh have to tell them, go get up and get dunya, right? As opposed to the opposite of telling everybody, worry about the akhirah, not the dunya. The actual zuhad, when they get so good at that, the shuyukh have to tell them the opposite. Like, I have to tell Omar, go get some dunya. Eat some food, get some dunya, buy some new
Ya
sneaks.
Rab, Ya Rab. May Allah help us.
All right, folks. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.